In today's video, I want to talk about the Epicurean Paradox. This is one of the arguments that often comes when trying to discuss the existence of a source, of an energy, of the seat of consciousness, of a universal force, anything that is related to a concept, not even the concept of God, but like related to the very concept of a God, of a higher intelligence, of intelligent design. The first thing that comes out is as a counter argument to the existence of such thing is the Epicurean Paradox, and there are these diagram flows which go a little bit further into it, which mainly states that God, the idea and the concept of God or a universal force is flawed. Either God cannot stop evil, cannot know all evil, or is willing to stop and knows about evil, but he won't do it. And we ask ourselves why. Then why do we call that aspect a God if he wants to see us suffer? It has to do with the existence of evil, with the existence of suffering and pain, which is something that a lot of the ascetist philosophies have tried to tackle a lot. And the whole concept of the existence of evil, the problem of evil, is one of the biggest issues in philosophy. Now, in this aspect of the outline, I'm going to upload this video on the playlist Pragmatic Philosophy. What I do in this playlist is that I try to look at all of the information that I cover in this channel regarding the research on what people are calling consciousness, the research on the paranormal, on the other experiences and altered states of consciousness, on psychedelic experiences and so on and so forth, channelings, all under the umbrella of consciousness. What I try to do is to apply that knowledge, that research, that data, and try to come with conclusions about the biggest questions in today's philosophy. So in today's video, I'm going to be going forward and trying to debunk the Epicurean Paradox, as I believe we have new information that leads us to have an answer for this paradox and the contemplation of evil. At the end of the video, I was even myself figuring out things and struggling a bit with some of the concepts, but even for myself, I had this idea in my mind and I wanted to make this video for a long time, but even for myself, I found some interesting things that at the end of the video I encountered myself. Before I move forward, I would like to remind you that if you want to join the growing discussion on consciousness and would like to be notified on the latest scientific discoveries and theories surrounding this topic and how they connect to ancient mythologies and philosophies, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, as I'll try to upload at least one video per week as I continue with the outline. Alright, so now that we know a little bit about Epicurus, we can go into his paradox. Now, this paradox is the meat of these videos, the meat of it's a current dilemma. It's one of the biggest. It's not only about Epicurus and his paradox. This is the biggest, one of the biggest problems in philosophy. Where does evil come from? What is its justification for existence? And what is the nature of God? If there was one, if there is one, if there was something like it. So the Epicurean Paradox of Riddle Epicurus is a version of the problem of evil. So it was attributed to him, but we don't really know if it was really him. But the paradox stands on itself. God, he says, either wishes to take away evils and is unable, or he is able and is unwilling, or he is neither willing or able, or he is both willing and able. If he is willing and unable, he is feeble, which is not in accordance with the character of God. If he is able and unwilling, he is envious, which is equally at variance with God. If he is neither willing nor able, he is both envious and feeble, and therefore not God. If he is both willing and able, which alone is suitable to God, from what source then are evils, or why does he not remove them? So in all of the instances of this logical paradox, God, or the idea of the existence of a God or a source or a universal force, call it what you want, is an imperfect one, is an evil one, is an envious one, is a flawed one. the idea of this perfect God that many churches, many lines of thought have is flawed because of the simple existence of evil. Now, this is the reason why I wanted to debunk this Epicurean paradox, is because when I started to talk about topics of consciousness and some of the research that has been coming back and forward in the ancient mythologies, a lot of people go straight into this, not even knowing that they are incurring into this paradox. A lot of people actually use it, and they post the little image, this diagram flow, where it goes into it, and they explain like why is there war, why is there slaughter, why is there poverty, why is there hunger? If there was a God, he wouldn't allow this. And you see all these tragic stories of children who are sick and so on and so forth, all the pain and all the suffering, and they say, where is your God? Where is your positive universe? What is going on? And that is the question of questions. Alright, so for actually debunking this paradox, I'm gonna use this image right here. I've seen this image used online in forums and in arguments and so on and so forth, where it's a little bit more advanced. It goes a little bit deeper into this paradox with different assumptions to why there is evil. And in order for me to do this, to make my argument, I'm gonna assume two things. Number one thing, as I said, I'm gonna be using the information that we have to this ongoing research in what people are calling consciousness and altered status of consciousness, ancient philosophies, and so on and so forth. But also, so some of the things that we can arrive to with this information is that there is a source of things. There is intelligent design to the process of life and death. There is something beyond our physical world, and we're all part of it. We're all connected, and this is a metaphysical aspect, a metaphysical essence, and a metaphysical realm or realms of existence. This is what is coming out from the experience and so on and so forth. There is this idea that it's all about love. Love is the strongest force in the universe. Everything is in accordance to law. There's also this idea that we're living in a multiverse. There's a lot of things happening at the same time, and there is no time. Everything is happening at the same time. We're in the process of evolution. We're in the process of creating. So going into that, the first thing that I'm gonna assume is that there is this force, there is this positive universe, this source, and to make it easy and to go with the chart, with this with this diagram flow, we're gonna call it God. Now, as I said, this ongoing research is a thing that we are starting to understand. So this is an assumption. We will assume that God exists. The second assumption that I'm gonna have to make is something found in the literature, something that I've been wanting to talk about, but I haven't found the place nor the time to do it, as I am still going with the first part of the outline where I go into Christianity. So if you like this video, if you find this information useful, please like and share. This is the best way that you can support me right now. Follow me on social media, on Facebook and so on and so forth. I would really like to devote myself to the study of consciousness, to understanding what is the reality underlying everything that we know. So in any case, the second thing that I'm gonna assume is that this theory is correct, and the theory is that we are in this process of evolution. Our souls are in a process of learning something, of understanding something, so that we can ascend to a higher realm, to a higher state of consciousness, where we are closer to create these heavens. Perhaps even a non-physical reality or a semi-physical reality where we live in harmony, where we are closer to this quote-unquote God, where we are able to be in the presence of this ultimate power, ultimate source, ultimate energy. So this is what a lot of people who go through near-death experiences say, that there is this realm that is beyond imagination, but we cannot even be there because we are imperfect. We are not there. We are in the process of getting there. And the idea behind this is that we are in this process of getting there, of perfecting ourselves. This is why we are reincarnating. This is perhaps why, as I said, there is no denying that there is a life review when people are in this process of death. Now, this is now data, as I said, I spoke about in my previous video. This is now data. There's a scientific consensus on this. This is no longer anecdotal evidence. There is a scientific consensus that there is a live review where people look at everything they did in their lives is in some form of analysis. So why does this exist? Because we are looking at the things in order to improve. Perhaps in a new life, there's a lot of evidence in reincarnation as well. So we're gonna assume that we're in a process of perfecting ourselves somehow. So these are the two assumptions. God exists, and we are in the process of improving ourselves somehow. And everything that permeates our reality, our world, planet Earth, and our lives is governed in some way by these first assumption, the idea of this loving energy, this all-powerful, omnipotent, omnipresent energy that is God. These are the two assumptions that I'm going to use to debunk this Epicurean paradox. Alright, so it states, evil exists, pain, suffering, evil in the world exists. Yes, can God prevent evil? He cannot. So this is the first one. He cannot prevent evil, so then he's not all-powerful. He's a feeble, weak God. So why we call it God? There's no God. God is not existent. But now if we assume that God can prevent evil, we go to the next one. Does God know all about evil? Like everything that exists, all the evil in the world, the pain and the suffering. If we think that he does not, then God is not all-knowing. He is not omnipotent, omnipresent. He's not as powerful as we think it is. Why do we call him God? Why do we call him this the source, the everything that is? If he does not know all the evil that there is. Now, if we understand that he can prevent evil, he knows all about evil, as on that passage says that he created evil, maybe himself, itself. Does God want to prevent evil? We think that no, then God is not good. God is not all loving. He does not want to prevent all evil. He wants us to suffer, to punish us somehow. This is like the basic Epicurean paradox. This is the flawed God that exists. We shouldn't even worry about it because it does not exist. Then because evil exists, the assumption is because evil exists, then there is no God, because evil is right there. So there's no way to stop it. There's no way to know all about evil. We do not want to prevent evil. So then God is flawed. This universe, this positive universe, this source. So if he wants to prevent evil, now this is where it gets a little bit more complicated in this chart. So God can God prevent evil? Yes. Does he know all about evil? Yes. Does God want to prevent evil? Yes. So he knows, he wants to prevent evil. Why is there evil then? Now these are 4 options of why there is evil. It is necessary for the universe to exist. The concept of duality is very interesting. This is one of the Hermetic laws. There's another reason. There is Satan. There is this counter opposite force which might be just as strong as God. And the other one is to test us. I made a video about this before. I'm actually gonna link it because if you think about the concept of hell and God and evil, then if God is punishing people, because I know that a lot of people who are going to be watching this video perhaps are gonna have some Christian ideals or the idea of religions, a very dogmatic background. So if God punishes us whenever we don't do what he wants and he sends us to hell, he's testing us, then God and the devil are working together, and there's a purpose to it, which is this is mainly for the people who have a Christian dogma and who want to move past forward this Christian dogma. And I talk about it in that video. I'm gonna link all the videos are always gonna be linked below. So I'm going to start here, actually, because this is the most interesting one. It is necessary for the universe to exist. This is the concept of duality, and the one of the Hermetic concepts that it is necessary for the universe to exist. It has to do with reality and so on. So if we go with the Christian ideas of Satan and to test us, let's start there. So then why is there evil? God wants to prevent evil. He knows about evil. He wants to. He can. He knows about it. Then why is there evil? He wants to test us. If God is all-knowing, he would know what we would do if we were tested. Therefore, no need to test us. Then why didn't he? Okay, so this goes backwards. So this is the first conclusion. If God is all-knowing, he would know what we would do if we were tested. Therefore, no need to test us. So now this is a flawed argument, because he would know what we would do. Perhaps he doesn't know what we would do. One of the main ideas that is coming from the research on outer states of consciousness, and what is in the literature as well, is that we are all the present moment is always unfolding. There is no time. There is always the present moment. The idea of reality, the idea of us being here, is constantly deciding who we are going to be and what we are going to create, even for the purpose of existence itself. So, no, God does not know what we would do. Perhaps this is what we are doing here. The idea of testing us is probably a bad way to put it, but I would say more accurately would be to create us, to create a reality for ourselves. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do when we see these injustices, these slaughters? What are we gonna do when we see poor people on the streets? What are we gonna do when we see these governments, these selfish egos wanting to create this system where there is a lower class of human beings who are barely scraping the surface, and there is this higher class who are eating gold and going into space in their own man-made rockets for private purposes? Perhaps this is not the society that we want to live in, and this is the main issues of the main causes of evil: hunger, poverty. It's an economic situation because the people in power are either not capable of coming with a solution for this, or they are selfish and they want to have more power and they don't care about others. It's either one of those. They are mediocre, or they are selfish. So all of this, and the test perhaps is that if near-death experiences tell us something about the life review, we are testing ourselves. We're looking at how can we be better, how can we be more loving in each of the situations. If our actions affect others, perhaps this is a fair assumption that there is some sort of a test in what we call a life. To come to this conclusion, that is to test us, there is a counter-argument right here. So the second one, there is Satan, an all-powerful, all-knowing God, all-good God, could and destroyed Satan. So he would just destroy it. Why is God not destroying Satan? The idea and the concept of Satan, of this counter opposite force to what is God, as I said, there's this passage where God says, I am light and I created darkness. I created this pain and suffering for a reason, perhaps to test us in some way. The idea that there is an opposite force just as strong as God, it does not make any sense, because God is everything, even the evil itself, which perhaps we may be experiencing in order to test us, because all of the evil, as I said, in the world comes from other men, mainly. Maybe when you think about nature, our instincts, and when you see these animals overcoming their own nature to show compassion, to show love for even animals who are not on the same species, there's this overcoming, there's this free will at hand. So the concept of a Satan is not it's not very strong. When you go into the negative alter states of consciousness, and negative ND is, it's that people have a lot of agency into their experiences, and there might be these lower vibrational realms where people go, where there is all these essences, these negative thought forms that exist, and they experience that as hell. I made a whole video about this, and I have a theory on these negative altered states of consciousness. I'm gonna link it somewhere on the screen if possible, otherwise it's gonna be always below. But this is not very feasible, and we don't have a lot of evidence on this in the modern research that there is this Satan. There's people experiencing these negative experiences, which at the end they gain knowledge from these experiences, and they are always able to overcome when they feel like they are in a place that they would call hell. There's always the stories usually end up with them escaping this place by understanding that they can change their own reality with their thoughts. So we go into the idea of Epicurus, that free will to counter an otherwise deterministic universe. So people, when they go through these negative near-death experiences or psychedelic trips, they always have the capability to change them somehow. So the whole idea that there's a counter force, counter being named Satan that is creating all of this. Why wouldn't God just destroy Satan? Because there is no Satan. God, everything that is created for a reason, it seems, and perhaps to test us in a way for us to gain this improvement and to overcome our own perhaps evil, selfish nature. Alright, so we have these two more dogmatic Christian ideas of the existence of evil. Neither of them make a lot of sense. This one perhaps a little bit of sense, but this one is tied to the other ones. These are more cosmological ideas of the existence of evil. So let's go with this one. It is necessary for the universe to exist. So the concept of duality. So one of the stories of creation is that in the beginning there was nothing, and then God created the light. There was light, there were planets, there were things, there were other beings which were fragmented into more beings, which are the original souls, and then there was this multiplication. And so if God is all loving, all creation, all expansion, there should be something else, something that seeks to destroy creation itself, something to so if the nature of God and all these initial souls was a positive one, was one of love, was one of understanding, this is the best concept. The idea of ultimate love, an ultimate positive universe, an ultimate creation is the best idea that can be conceived by the higher intelligence. The only way that it could experience that it could exist somehow would be to have a counter to it. In order for there to be light, there's got to be darkness. In order for there to be up, there's got to be down. So then dimensions were created, back and forward, up and down. Space itself and time were created. These are the ideas of the origins of creation. There's duality. Duality is necessary for the universe to exist in the first place. So in order for there to be righteousness and kindness and this ultimate love that, according to the literature and according to the evidence, is the ultimate reality, there has to be something that is not it in order to experience it, which is why we are doing this, perhaps these lives, to experience it and to understand it. So here is where I'm gonna start using my second assumption. So there is this idea that we're in the process of understanding this. It's a journey, it's a soul journey of understanding evil. Another of the ideas that so there was this initial creation, these initial souls, and they were given free will because in order for them to experience this nature of God, of all creation, all perfect creation, and all perfect harmony, they had to do it on their own terms. There had to be free will. So some of these souls decided to not do that. They wanted to explore what other options were there for existence, for reality. So this is the idea of the creation of evil in some of the literature. It says that the whole concept of the fallen angels, and they created their own worlds. This is demigods. Now, so you have the angelic world and the positive angels and whatnot. And then you have the negative ones. You have the demons. You have these lower vibrational realms. But both of these are necessary for existence itself. So there's a larger purpose at hand. And at the end of the day, the idea is that we're all the same. But some of them decided to go counter to the nature of God, to the nature of the heavenly realm, in order for it to exist in the first place. But as soon as we understand it, then we all come back to God, and we come back to this heavenly realm, and then it all happens all over again. It's a cycle. This is one of the ideas of what's going on now. There's a lot to it, and I'm not going to go into it right now, but this is very, very interesting. So it says, it is necessary for the universe to exist. Could God have created a universe without this? No. Then we go back to God is not powerful, so therefore there is no God. So if God could have created a universe without this evil, so in the story of creation, if we go with the idea that instead of giving free will to these other souls which at their core possess the same essence of God, of creation, but they would have to be forced into being whatever God wanted to, then free will wouldn't exist. The nature of this God, the nature of its unlimited potential for creation would not exist. But this is the only way that God could have created a universe without this, by restricting this free will, which perhaps it wouldn't be so perfect, because they wouldn't have experienced what it is to not be in the nature of God. Now, this is one of the conclusions right here, and we are here. This is we've gone through this. This is flawed because God does not know what we would do. We are always creating ourselves, and we're always choosing who we're gonna be in order with the nature of free will, the nature of God. God is unlimited. It's free will. We are supposed to be part of that God, so we have this free will. We're always deciding what we're gonna be. And if we think about the data of reality and reincarnation and these near-death experiences in our life review, we are in this process, and we are given as many chances as we want to create this perfect world, this perfect universe, to be closer to this nature of God. So this is a flawed argument. The idea of Satan is flawed because the idea of evil is to test us, is to create this perfection, and through free will, understanding that evil can be an option, but it's not the option that is going to get us closer to God. So Satan is not a real thing. It's part of this. Evil, the nature of evil is part of this. So this is the other conclusion. Could God create a universe? Well, no, because it wouldn't have been a perfect universe. It would have been a universe restricted by the non-existence of free will. Another of the ideas that is in the literature is that these initial beings who were creating worlds, who had the same power as God, in all rights they were demigods, they wouldn't agree with each other on what reality would be. So they created these different worlds which were opposed to each other. So they went to war to each other, and it has to do with the idea of the fallen angels and so on and so forth. So they were at war, and the only way for them to understand this evil and how their actions were affecting others were to have these experiences, which is perhaps what we're experiencing now in this planet, and perhaps what happens in other planets. When you go into the research, it seems that people are going through these experiences where they see that planet Earth is not the only planet where these souls can go into this soul journey of experiencing reality. There are many other planets and many other realities where beings are doing this. Alright, so going with the idea, this is a little bit tough, a little bit of a recap. So these are the options. This one makes sense. It's not test us, but we are in a constant process of evolution, and it's not a test, it's a life review. We're reviewing what we're doing to get back to the nature of God. This is why there is evil, and it's ourselves, it's our own free will creating evil, because all the evil in the world mostly comes from other human beings being selfish and whatnot. The idea of Satan does not make any sense, because this does make more sense. The idea of the nature of God, as I said, this is going with the assumption, my second assumption that I mentioned at the beginning of this diagram. So the other one is, could God have created a universe without this? No, because it is necessary for the nature to go back to the nature of God. Otherwise, it would have been an imperfect world. So if you go, yes, he could have created this world without evil, but because of free will, without free will, it wouldn't have been perfect. It wouldn't have been this nature of God. So now, this is what we arrive at the end. The idea that why didn't he create, so the assumption that there is God and he is all powerful, he knows about evil, there is evil, why didn't he create a universe without evil? So this is where we're at. As I said, no, because restricting free will wouldn't be a perfect world and wouldn't be aligned with the nature of God, which is unlimited potential to create perhaps what we would perceive as evil. As I said, part of that duality, for others it wouldn't be evil. So the idea that he's not powerful to create it does not make any sense. So let's say, yes, could God have created a universe with free will? Just adding the idea of free will, but without evil? Yes. This is going with the idea that, so it goes, this is the assumption that God exists and is all powerful. You add the aspect of free will, which is very important for existence, for the creation of the universe, for the unlimited existence of God. Could God have created a universe without free will, but without evil? Yes, he could, because he can do anything. It can do anything. The source, the power of the universe can create anything. He created creation itself. Then why didn't he? We go back to this final answer. But now, if we think about the evidence of multiverses and what near-death experiences are saying, and people who go into out-of-body experience, people who go into QHHT hypnotherapy, and they speak about the nature of the universe and what some of these higher guys, if you go into channeling, with all the literature put together, the idea is that there are multiverses and time is not linear. Time is not existent. Everything has already happened. Every single choice has already happened, and it all exists at the same time. It's only our perception of us going through life, going through our sojourn, which we decide what to do. And according to the literature, people can go through the same life over and over until they get it right, according to their own purposes. So it's some sort of a, even if you can imagine life and creation itself as a theme park, as a ride, as an experience, perhaps this is all there is. So if we arrive at this conclusion of God exists and is all powerful, it's all that you would think of an all-loving God, he actually did create this universe with free will but without evil. It exists right now, and this is the idea of the heavenly realms, of this perfect world. Some people are calling it 5D or 7 dimensions, or going back to God or the light, this perfection that exists. I don't know, I cannot picture it, I cannot imagine it. Can you imagine heaven? Can you imagine this perfect world? According to the experiences, it exists and it is there, but not, people cannot even stay in the presence, in the energy of the light. They are not worth it. They don't feel worth it. They know that they have to improve themselves to be the And that is the whole idea, that being at the gates of heaven, because it already exists. So if you go into literature, as well as I said, some people don't even call it heaven or anything like that. It's the idea of different dimensions, and there's these higher dimensions, these higher realms. There are planets. There is this idea that even Earth is one of the worst planets and one of the hardest planets to learn these lessons. And there are better planets where people actually live in harmony and they are learning different lessons or experiencing different things. As it says, I personally believe there are two possibilities for the existence of reality and creation and being. One is to do this evolution of the soul and be more in terms with the nature of God, and the other one is simply experience, because maybe God was bored in the nothingness and he created things, and now there's creation, and we go through creation, we go through experiences and reincarnating one. Are there other options? Perhaps there might be. I don't know. As I said, this is philosophy. This is thinking about things, thinking about all of this based. What my turn, what I do in this channel is basing myself in the literature, in the evidence, and everything surrounding what people are calling consciousness. So the conclusion of this Epicurean Paradox is God is what it is. It is this all-powerful, this omnipotent source, all-loving energy, who is all the universe, who is the good and bad, who is evil and righteousness, and he created all of this because free will is a basic part of existence, of the nature of God, all creation, unlimited love, and the idea of creating others so they can experience each other. God can experience itself as God even, and the duality to experience everything in creation. It's all part of it. Then why didn't he? This is the final. This is what our minds have been capable of understanding. Now, as I said, this is more complex. I'm having a little bit of trouble going through this as I'm making this video. So this is the final idea that we got. Then why didn't he create this perfect world, this perfect heaven? Perhaps we are in the process of creating it. If we are part of God, if we are part of these initial souls, call it your higher self or whatever, we're all part of these initial souls that God created, and according to my second assumption, we are doing this. But it already exists, according to the ideas of the multiverse and the idea that there is no time. Everything has already happened, and it's happening again, and it's a cycle, and the Big Bang is happening all over again. There is no time. It's only our perception of existence in a specific timeline, creating our own experiences, creating our own path. Because according to the multiverse theory, every single option already happened. Because reality is not even real. We live in a hologram. We live in a simulation. So you add all of these theories and all of these stats making sense. One of my very basic conclusions about reality itself and all that exists is that we are in the process of it. We are living this linear time. We are creating all these choices. We're going through our free will, doing these live reviews, trying to understand where we did wrong, trying to be more loving, more compassionate in order to approach the nature of God and access these higher realms, angelic realms, if you may, these 5 dimensions, these higher dimensions, this perfect world. And if you look at the evidence of even history of the world, all these more liberal practices and this idea of equality and this idea of being moral just because it's, it makes you feel good, there is something to it. And I think we are in the process of learning, of experiencing, of managing energy and understanding what it's all about. If you're on the path of finding the truth about reality and our purpose as humans on Earth, the information that I have to share concerns you. After a lifetime of research in philosophies ranging from Buddhism to the occult, I've encountered themes and patterns along some baffling information that is beginning to be seriously studied by science. A Rational Divine Outline, The Ghost of Jesus, is the first iteration of this project, where I analyze the message of Jesus without dogmatism, fanaticism, or religious bias. You can find my work available on Amazon on the link below. If you find this work valuable, consider subscribing, sharing, and following me on social media, as it'll help others in the same path to find this information. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.